2,500 years ago, people asked the same questions that we ask now. Why is there suffering in the world? Why is there conflict inside of us? What are children learning from our actions?
Religions have had a very mixed record. On the one hand, much that is great and noble in human civilization, art, architecture, music, dance, scriptures, literature, can be traced back to one or other of the great religions of the world. On the other hand, more people have been killed and massacred and tortured and persecuted in the name of religion than in any other name. I think our path and our problem and our challenge in this century is to try and reinterpret the great religions of the world in such a manner that it brings about, it nurtures this divinity.
If we don't do our inner work and inner transformation, and we don't sort of see into the roots of our mind and who we are as human beings, then we will continue to create the same old dramas, the same old issues, the same old mess in our social, political and environmental organizations and structures all over again. And so it really requires an inner waking up and an inner work as much as the outer work. One without the other is not going to be enough.
In this world of duality, nothing is perfect, nothing is pure. It is part of our dynamic of life. Carl Jung, the great psychologist, he said somewhere, you should never take somebody's problems away from them, because it's through their problems that they grow. It is through this friction of light and dark that we grow. This physical world is not the only world there is. And once you do much meditation, you begin to see somewhere else. You begin to see what the Sufis call, or what is known as the inner planes, what is beyond the physical. There are many different planes of creation. And if you look in the inner world, if you see how our culture looks in the inner world, you see this dark cloud of forgetfulness that covers the world. There is also, the desecration is also phenomenal. We have desecrated almost everything we regard as sacred. We have destroyed it. And so we have cut ourselves off from the source which nourishes us. If you don't have physical food, your body starves. If you don't have spiritual food, your soul starves. And if the soul starves, the meaning goes out of life. And if the meaning goes out of life, you get depressed. And we have forgotten. It is such a dim, distant memory of a time when everything was sacred. Historically, it's not so long ago. 2,000 or 3,000 years ago, everything was sacred. Now what is sacred? Hardly anything. And so of course we are depressed, because we are deprived of that which gives meaning and joy to life. When life reaches a crisis, it evolves, and traditionally it jumps a level of evolution. It jumps into a different level of consciousness, and this has happened organically in the past to humanity, and it is happening now. But if you learn to listen, to be attentive, then you'll see something is happening. I call it the world is waking up. And it's asking certain people to be part of it. It's like sending out messages. You can't read them with rational consciousness. Certain light within the world is talking to the light within us, if we can actually stop what we're doing for a moment and listen to it. And to me, one of the importances of meditation is learning to have a discipline of being receptive, of being attentive, of just watching these currents. There are extraordinary things happening. They're happening at the moment just behind the scenes. And if we can dare to be present, not in this apparent world around us which looks like a complete disaster, which looks like a complete mess that's getting worse. And this is actually part of the seductive play of the illusions. The dying world is asking us to look at it because it has so many problems. It wants us to have our attention fixated on its death throes, and it is this grip, this fascination, because darkness holds our attention much more closely than light. But if for a moment we can step out of that, if we can turn our attention away from this fixation with what is happening, and we can learn to look somewhere else. And what is interesting is that this is also very similar in our own process, because we get so fixated by our ego consciousness, and particularly when the ego consciousness starts to fall apart, we kind of cling to those bits of the shipwreck longingly, like keeping old memories alive. Do we dare to allow something to fall away, to allow the old concepts, the old ego to fall away? Can we instead just say, okay, this is happening, it's terrible, there are many, many people suffering, we can pray for them, but maybe our attention is needed towards something else. Maybe we can dare to turn away from this particular screen. It's like there's one movie playing over there. Do we dare to turn away to where something is not definite, something is not defined, but there is a certain pulsating energy there, there is a certain quality of being coming into existence, and the moment we do, the moment we really say, okay, I am here for something other than myself, I am here for what might be, and then we will notice that there is something happening, and if we are really attentive, it will begin to stir up ancient, ancient memories within us. How our light can resonate with a deeper light that is coming into existence. That is the challenge, that is the call. But that's so similar what happens when you begin a spiritual journey. You don't know what you're involved in. You don't know what you're being drawn to, but something draws you away from your conceptual understanding of yourself and your conceptual understanding of life. Do you have the courage, or the craziness, because for Sufis they go together, to say yes to that ultimate adventure of the soul? And now all I'm saying is, do we have the courage and the craziness to say yes to this ultimate collective adventure, to step outside this debris of the present time and begin to see what is coming into being? The moment you say yes, and you're there, and you're attentive, and you're watching, then life, the divine, it doesn't matter what you call it, your deepest nature, the world soul, will speak to you. And we don't know what will happen. And we don't know how it will be. And maybe it won't work out. And that doesn't matter either, because one should not be in any way conditioned by results. This is the teaching of the Bhagavad Gita, to act without concern for the fruits of actions. And to be present in that emptiness of intention, of presence, of awareness, of participation, that is completely alive, because it is not structured by any concept of how it ought to be. Then something can happen. Then something really newborn, not just a repackaged vision of the past, can come alive.
Natanam What you are is what you have been. What you will be is what you do now.
We have a certain number of days left on Earth. We don't know how many. We have a certain number of encounters, meetings, experiences, ordeals. We don't know how many. But this we know, we are in service. Nothing can change this. We have been brought forth out of emptiness to serve. The earth has churned out these bodies that with these hands we may serve. We will serve and then we will disappear. It will slip back into the earth and this body will be soil again and water and birds and fish, and this spirit within will fly back to its source.